Back here at Valleyfair for the first time in 4 years. And look forward to getting back on Renegade, see if I underrated it. Definitely want to get back on Excalibur because you never know how long that thing has. See how mild thing is riding. And of course, High Roller. I do like their simple entry plaza. Even though it's small, it looks nice. They are doing Grand Carnival today. They'll have some entertainment going on in the evening. Now, can someone correct or confirm, is this the ride that was in the movie Little Big League from like the mid-90s? It has been about 15 years since I watched that movie. I know that's a popular thing that was done a few times. It's done on the Step by Step theme song. And that show from the 90s, and then Little Big League did it too, where the mother and the baseball player got soaked on the bridge. I'm kind of wondering, I do remember them going to an amusement park and that happening in that movie. I'm wondering if that was Valleyfair, because that was the Minnesota Twins and they were in the Metrodome. So I'm thinking they were at Valleyfair and that this was the ride that that scene was filmed on. So I actually started off with Corkscrew, did it in the back row, and that basically did nothing. No airtime on the drop, no force in the loop, no hang time in the corkscrews. But High Roller, my gosh. This ride is awesome. If you're in the back row or row 3, those are the 2 rides that I did. I'll try it in other seats too. Oh, I got some screaming people. I'll try it in other seats too, but the back row on the drop and then the next hill is amazing. Row 3 doesn't quite give as good an airtime rising up after those first 2 drops, but you get a little. But where row 3 makes up for it is after the turnaround. On those hills, after the first turnaround, row 3 just gets the most insane ejector airtime. And then even on these hills, towards the end, gives amazing airtime. Now the back gets some good airtime there too, just not as good as row 3. So you just got to do both, because both row 3 and the back row are amazing. Now, I would say you are on a wheel seat. It is going to be bumpier. I did the back, then the front on Renegade, and I was wondering if I may have underrated this ride. I think I might have a little overrated it. It is a good ride, no doubt about it. It's the best ride in the park, but honestly, it's a lot closer to High Roller than I originally thought. High Roller's moving way up my list. Renegade might move just a little bit down, but it's still the best ride in the park. The airtime is not the strongest for GCIs, but it's still there. It is better in the front, which is kind of interesting. A lot of times, back row is the best row for airtime, but not on this ride. You want to go more towards the front for the better airtime. That twisted drop is interesting and unique, but it doesn't really do anything. There's no force with it, no laterals or airtime. The airtime might not be quite as strong as High Roller, but it's got a nice variety to the elements. It's got those rapid fire transitions that GCIs are known for, which makes it the better ride. But it's a lot closer than I originally thought. Some people have said before that this is like the best GCI. No, not quite. I would say this is a mid-tier GCI, in the lower half of the mid-tier though. And to address the roughness factor, yes, it is quite rough. It is right at that edge, almost too much for me, but I can tolerate it. But I could certainly understand someone saying that this is too rough. Any rougher, I would be ending my day with Renegade with those 3 rides. But I'll come back and do it again, but I don't know if I could do like 10, 15 rides. At least the airtime is still there. Not really all that strong. Definitely a lot of GCIs with much better airtime, but it's still pretty good. Excalibur I saw running, so that's where I'm headed. If you've been here before, you probably know Excalibur does not open with the park usually. Usually has a delayed opening and an early closing too. So you gotta get back here midday while it's operating and ride it while you can. Don't know how much longer this will be here. It is tucked back here all by itself. Not surprising that once again, row 3 is gonna get you the best airtime. You get 2 good moments of airtime. The first one is incredible if you're in row 3, but it's gonna be quite bumpy because you're on a wheel seat. But I'd say it's worth it. I did not try the very back. I did the next to last row and the front. The front row actually was pretty rough too. That next to last row, though, was pretty smooth. So I did row 3 on Wild Thing, the magic seats. And yes, that first camelback hill gives good sustained floater airtime, just like on Mamba and Steel Force. The mid-course is hitting hard. The return series of bunny hills, definitely nowhere near the level of Mamba, because Mamba's mid-course is barely hitting. But at least in row 3, it did give some pretty decent mild floater. So it wasn't nothing, but nothing all that special. As far as hypercoasters go, I'd only put Goliath at Magic Mountain below it. Love the sound of those LIMs. I do like the back, mostly for this backward spike. However, I prefer the versions without the holding brake. I know that's a hot take. Most people prefer the holding brake. The reason why I don't like the holding brake is because it stifles the airtime. The ones without the holding brake, you get about 5 to 6 seconds of sustained floater airtime all the way up, and it continues all the way down. Especially if you're in that back row, you start the airtime on the rise up, and it just holds you there at 0 Gs throughout the stop and then all the way back down. With the holding brake, it ends the airtime at the holding brake, and then you don't really even get it reestablished. I know it's a unique aspect, and it's cool that one of them still has it, honestly, but I prefer the ones without it. Seven rides in on High Roller. It is still riding so good. There is 15 minutes left, and I just did my 6th ride on Renegade for the day. I did 3 early on, and now I've done 3 in the last hour or so. I got a line at 8:30. It took 30 minutes. The line was backed up, and they were on one train. They had mechanical issues earlier. That's why I hadn't ridden it since early on. One train ops, but after getting that 4th ride, there was like no line after that, or hardly any line. But it's riding a bit rough today, and I said early on that I was feeling good. Well, maybe not as good as I thought, because it was getting to me. So I got that 5th ride, and then I had to go ride the Wild Mouse for a break. Even if it wasn't rough, the airtime is still not among the best of the GCIs, but it's still pretty good. So I was saying, after that 6th ride, I think I'm ready to tap out, but I do want to hold on for one more ride, but I'm waiting an extra cycle, hoping it gets a little darker. Up here in the north, they have a very long twilight before it gets dark. They get later sunsets and a lot longer twilight. When I came into this day, I did not think that at best I would be tying my ride count with Renegade with another ride in the park. But I've got 7 on High Roller, 1 more for 7 on Renegade. I probably could get it up to 8 if I hurried, but like I said, the roughness a little much. Don't think I can handle that much today. Last time I was here, I did 13 rides, 4 early on and then 9 in the last 2 hours on that day. Can't handle that today. And this is my 4th day on this trip. I have done 106 coaster rides. 40 of them have been on wood coasters. And that trend is going to continue because tomorrow I'm going to Bay Beach with Zippin' Pippin as the only coaster there. After Bay Beach and Zippin' Pippin, I'll be doing Michigan's Adventure, which has Wolverine Wildcat and Shivering Timbers, which will dominate my rides there. Then a couple days later, I'll be doing Waldemere with Ravine Flyer 2 and Comet. I did do that 7th ride on Renegade, and then I had the opportunity to do an 8th, so I went ahead and took it. Why not? Already got a headache. Why not make it worse? I'm not here very often. Might as well get that 1 extra ride. It was still twilight though. It was dark enough. It was dark enough to add to the experience. But that'll do it from Valleyfair. Tomorrow, I'll be heading on to Bay Beach in Green Bay to finally get on Zippin' Pippin. Really looking forward to that. Boy, they got this decorated really nice through here.